Blessed the peeps, welcome back, you see me? So peeps, today we're going to talk about a reggae veteran who, in my opinion, has been forgotten by most of the lovers of reggae and dancehall music. Yes, people. And the name of this late veteran entertainer is Max Romeo. You know, Max Romeo is a Rastafarian artist from back in the days. He was never as big as most of the favorite reggae entertainers, but believe me, he was a very, very talented artist and he was very, very popular. He has been on tours, been performed, you know what I mean, people. He's also from the same parish as the legendary Robert Nesta Marley. As a matter of fact, him and Bob Marley used to have a certain level of understanding. Also, you know, Bob Marley from 9 Miles and this entertainer from St. Baker. So they are both from in the hills of St. Anne. And so we're going to take a little look at his musical journey. And I know that most of you are hearing about this entertainer for the very first time, but his musical journey is interesting. You can stick around if you're a true lover of dancehall and reggae music, you know what I mean? Otherwise, you can't scroll hard, you see me? So people, Maxwell Livingston Smith, better known by his stage name Max Romeo, was born on November the 22nd in the year 1944, and he was born in St. Anne, Jamaica. He was brought up in an area known as St. Baker. You know, most of the St. Anne people I'm checking knows exactly what I am talking about. But you know, back in those days, people, when they are from a very poor and humble beginning and they want to make life, you know, opportunities are very scarce, especially in those country areas of St. Anne. So you have to move on to other areas in order to see greener pastures, which Max Romeo did at the age of 14 years old. You know what I mean? Romeo relocated to work on a sugar plantation close to Clarendon. But you know, whilst on the sugar plantation working, he was always singing and, you know what I mean, entertaining his other co-workers and giving himself a vibes, you know what I mean, not to get too bored whilst out there working, because from a kid growing up, his true passion was to become an entertainer. But you know, back in those days in the country, people, it was almost impossible for you to get a break in the music industry if you just remain there. So Max Romeo, whilst out there and expressing his talent, others would encourage him to take up his musical career seriously, because he is one who has real talent. And as such, he entered a local talent competition, and this was 4 years after he had started working at the sugar plantation. A lot of persons might be wondering, why was he working at the age of 14? Trust me. But then people, you are 14 and your mother have 14 other children, or your mother have 5 other younger children to take care of. She won't be in a position to help you. So what you have to do, you have to figure it out from a very tender age. It happened to a lot of persons. A lot of persons have to start early. So you know, at the age of 18 years old, he entered this competition. And he actually won the competition because of his raw talent. And this prompted him to move to the capital, Kingston, because he was being encouraged by others. You know, you need to go to Kingston because that is where all the recording opportunities are. And he took all the advice and he went to Kingston, embarking on his musical journey, seeking his musical career. In the year 1965, Romeo joined up with Kenneth Knight and Lloyd Shakespeare in the Jamaica vocal group, The Emotions. Whilst also working in sales for the Carlton label, the group was unsuccessful in most of the auditions that they went to. You know, it was basically a failing group. They were not able to secure a record deal. But you know, Max Romeo was working, and you know, a producer by the name of Ken Lock offered them an audition opportunity after he overheard Smith singing to himself whilst he was at work. In the year 1966, the group had their first hit with a song produced by Ken Lock. The title of this song was Buy You a Rainbow. The Emotions went on to release several hit singles, and by 1968, the singer by that point, known as Max Romeo, began his solo career, but did not have any great success on the charts. So, you know, he had to return to the Emotions group, and the Emotions were now recording for Phil Pratt. And they also founded a new backing band, the Hippie Boys. But regardless of the failures of his first try, Romeo was not willing to give up on his career. And in the year 1968, he finally got a breakthrough in his solo career when he released a song titled Wet Dream. You know, this was a song that brought a lot of controversy with it. It was a massive hit song in Jamaica, The track was banned by the BBC radio in the United Kingdom due to its overly sexual lyrics. Although the singer claimed that it was about water leaking through a roof, nevertheless, you know people wet dream. Once him sing about wet dream, you know what I mean, everyone knows what he's talking about. But him can always justify it by saying, yeah, it was water from a leaking roof and so on and so forth. But it was not that. You get me as a people? He had to have a justification, you know, for the radio station to free him up. But I would say nevertheless, Wet Dream became a top 10 hit in the UK, where it spent 6 months in the chart. Further records that came out in 1969 were Belly Woman, Winer Goosey and Miniskirt Version, as well as Max Rome's debut LP titled A Dream. Romeo was banned from performing at several venues during a UK tour around that same time. In the year 1970, Romeo returned to Jamaica to start his own record label named Romax. And it was an unsuccessful record label, you know, nothing ever going for that label. You see, he also tried with a sound system around that same time, and it was all failure. So in the year 1971, Max Romeo released his second album, an album titled Let the Power Fall. It included a number of politically charged songs, most advocating for the Democratic Socialist People's National Party, which is the PNP. And you know, the PNP chose this song, Let the Power Fall, as their theme song for the 1972 Jamaican general elections. It became the anthem of the People's National Party movement and marked a moment when culture and politics walked hand in hand towards the promise of a more just Jamaica. He was one of the influential artists along with Bob Marley who toured Jamaica and the PNP's bandwagon during the 1972 general election campaign. After this, Romeo worked with producer Lee Scratch Perry on the album Revelation Time in the year 1965, which features the classic song Three Blind Mice, an adaptation of the nursery rhyme with lyrics about police raid and a party. In the year 1976, Romeo released War in a Babylon, an album perceived as his best work. The politically and religiously themed album included the popular single Chase the Devil, which would become one of his most known songs. Shortly after this, the pair fell out. You know what I mean, people? Money now share, right? Producer and artists always have them kind of issues there. You know, makes you wonder. So this fallout left Romeo to produce his next album, Reconstruction, by himself. However, it could not match the success of his previous album when it was released in the year 1977. And due to failures and not much going on, Romeo relocated in the year 1978 to New York City, where he did a little bit of music nonetheless. In the year 1980, he appeared on the backing vocalist dance on the Rolling Stones album Emotional Rescue. In the year 1981, the favor was returned when Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones co-produced and played on Romeo's album Holding Out My Love to You, an unsuccessful attempt by Romeo to break into the North American market. The rest of his output during the decade went particularly unnoticed, and you know, Romeo had to find work at an electronics store because nothing never go on for him. I put in the work, but the work now it, and him now get no show, him now go on a tour, so you know him can't get hungry, him have a family to feed, hence he started to work at an electronic store. And you know, during his time at this electronic store, he met with John Holt, and John Holt encouraged him to return to Jamaica and to pursue his musical dreams once more. And you know, he did, and went back to Jamaica with John Holt, and he lived with John Holt for 1 year before he left in the year 1992 and went back to the United Kingdom, and I mean in pursuit of his musical dreams. He did some work here and there, but none of what he did connected with the lovers of reggae and dancehall music. Hence, you know what I mean, he was basically a forgotten artist. But his legacy had continued to live on as an artist who had actually done it. But his relevancy faded away, and maybe it was because of fights in the industry. You know, when I break away from certain producers in music, some of the times those producers will blackball you, especially back in those days when you needed radio play. You know what I mean? It's not like now when you have social media and other ways of getting your music out there, getting yourself heard. But then you had to be dependent on the radio stations, you know what I mean, to push your music out there. And once the producers them lock the radio, it's Jackie them you know say you don't have a chance. So the fact that his music and his albums were not successful does not mean his music was not good. It just simply meant that he was being blackballed for some reason or the other. In the year 2023, Max Romeo filed a lawsuit against Universal Music Group, and Polygram Publishing. They were being sued for $15 million. You know, Max Romeo claimed that he had not been paid royalties for his work for over 50 years. You know what I mean, people? That is very, very sad. And you know, Max Romeo passed away in the year 2025. You know what I mean? The 11th of April 2025. He died from heart complications, you know what I mean, people? But you know what, go? As an entertainer, you know, you have been treated unjustly, you know, unfairly. Sometimes, you know, even from a broken heart. Nevertheless, Max Romeo is a true giant of our music and knowledge, because there were a lot of other entertainers around back then who did not achieve success that he achieved. So we have to give credit where credit is due. Anyways, you can leave your views in the section. Otherwise, you can like, subscribe, and you can share. Peace.